So how do I get my Gmail fixed? Because
We have to put some securities on your computer system to remove the hackers and the Trojan. A new tab open up in the browser automatically, right? It directs you a new website and that website is been planted by them only. So that once your IP get connected with them, then they install something on your Windows without any permission. You have to pay for two things. The
okay,
driver toolkit and your anti-Trojan security of the web root. The driver toolkit is of the $90
okay.
and your anti-Trojan security of the web root will be approximately near about $129.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Is this Robert?
Yes.
I'm calling you because I believe that you were contacting people from a technical support company.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to let you know that those people are scammers.
Oh,
But I
Jesus Christ
yes,
Almighty.
what they do is I don't know exactly how you got your number. I assume you looked up tech support on Google. Is that how you got the number
Yeah,
initially that you
from
called?
Best Buy, from Geek Squad.
Right. So you looked up Geek Squad on Google because those guys are
Yeah.
not Geek Squad. Yeah, my concern is that you're in a scam call center, Sindhu. So let me ask you a few questions. Firstly, how did you join this scam call center? And how much do you get paid?
Thanks for holding the line.
The war on scam is difficult, but if we are better informed, we can fight it effectively. In this direction, I'm going to insist on some actions anybody can take if they've been scammed. Look, it is not that difficult to get information about people. Scammers get it in different ways. Scammers are very intense and they sometimes prey on elderly people for whatever reasons they think that they can take advantage of them. Let's do this.
What you're seeing is the live CCTV feed of a scam call center. And right now, this disgusting group of scammers is laughing at someone they just successfully scammed. And later, the only one laughing is going to be me when I tell the entire office of scammers their real names. But before I do, let me first explain how I tracked these scammers down and found all of their personal information. If you've ever tried to get your computer fixed, there's a good chance you've heard of Geek Squad. They're a massive company that fixes pretty much anything computer related, and undoubtedly there's going to be a ton of people looking them up on Google. But scammers have caught on to this, so you won't even get the real website as the first result. Instead, you'll get a bunch of ads for similar looking companies, most of which are scams. But the average person doesn't notice these things. They just want a number they can call to get their problem solved. What they don't know is the people they're calling aren't computer experts, but rather a bunch of scammers from India. But I'll seek these numbers out and purposefully call them, because as a part of the scam, they'll have their victims download remote access software, and I can take advantage of this to reverse the connection and gain access to their computers. So how do I get my Gmail fixed? Because
We have to put some securities on your computer system to remove the hackers and the Trojan.
right now the scammer has connected to me, but I've also connected to him, and I'm watching his computer screen as he attempts to run his scam.
It's a Trojan. You can see 12 connections. Do you have 12 computer and laptop with you?
He's now opened something called netstat, which is a command that shows network activity to try to convince me that my PC has a Trojan. These connections are completely normal, and him claiming otherwise is a lie. When I first called Frank Williamson, his real name actually being Devesh, I told him I had a problem with accessing Gmail. Now he's saying the cause of the issue is a computer Trojan. The reason for this is pretty simple. He doesn't actually know how to fix anything and can make much more money by simply making things up.
A new tab open up in the browser automatically, right? It directs you a new website and that website is been planted by them only. So that once your IP get connected with them, then they install something on your Windows without any permission.
After saying a whole bunch of nothing, the scammer was pretty sure he had convinced me of his fake problem, which is when he started trying to sell me an expensive and bogus support plan.
You have to pay for two things. The
Okay.
driver toolkit and your anti-Trojan security of the web root. The driver toolkit is of the $90
Okay.
and your anti-Trojan security of the web root will be approximately near about $129.
What he's trying to sell is nothing more than technobabble, and at this point I had wasted enough of his time and decided to confront him. I just want to know why you scam people. That's all I want to know. I guess you make a lot of money, right?
We are not.
You're not scammers?
We are fixing your issue.
Yeah, okay. So you're not scammers, and yet you bring up something that is not
I don't-
indicative of Trojans. This computer is a virtual
You have
computer.
This thing you bring up with your dummy computer system,
Yeah.
all these things are false. So you are a scammer, not
Oh,
me.
so I'm a scammer.
Okay,
So
we are fixing the people.
okay, yeah.
While
While he was accusing me of being a scammer, I was quietly scanning his PC's network when I discovered that unusually this group had installed CCTV. The reason I say this is unusual is because the majority of call centers that I've come across with video surveillance tend to be fairly large, with at least 30 to 40 employees, like in this one or in this one. That's why I was quite surprised to find that this office only had 6 to 7 people at any given time in a relatively small room. Either way, these cameras gave me insight into the day-to-day lives of these scammers, and many times I spotted them eating and socializing just like in any normal job. But more importantly, being able to see and hear them meant I could gather some rock-solid evidence of their activities. Let's take a look at the same scammer who previously tried to scam me, now running the exact same script on someone else.
Peter Carter was a technician who happened to computer. Okay, and right now it's with me because you have Trojan and virus in your computer. You have Trojan and virus. Due to which your camera driver has been caught.
Since I was actively listening to the call, I decided to intervene before they lost any of their money.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, is this Robert?
Yes.
I'm calling you because I believe that you were contacting people from a technical support company.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to let you know that those people are scammers.
Oh,
But I-
Jesus Christ
Yes.
almighty.
What they do is, I don't know exactly how you got your number. I assume you looked up tech support on Google. Is that how you got the number initially
Yeah,
that you
from
called?
Best Buy, from Geek Squad.
Right, so you looked up Geek Squad on Google? Because those guys are
Yeah.
not Geek Squad. Thankfully, I was able to successfully warn him, but there were many more people who had previously been scammed before I had a chance to intervene. This was evident from the many pictures I downloaded from the scammers' computers showing payments made via credit card and check for some pretty hefty amounts. Anywhere from $55 to $1,200 or even $1,500 had been paid for nothing. One picture I found that really highlights how disgusting these scammers really are is this one, where they force an elderly looking man to hold up a check, just more proof these scammers don't have even an ounce of remorse. Regardless of age, they don't care. That's why I wanted to identify not just the heartless scammers in India, but also the people facilitating the laundering of money. Because processing checks internationally is far more difficult and could arouse suspicion, the scammers will instead have their victims make them payable to shell companies in the United States. There were many such companies involved in this scheme, and I've blurred their names because I've reported all of them to US federal authorities where they're actively being investigated.
A cybercrime is still a crime and must be reported in the same way as any crime. These are some steps you can take. Draft an affidavit explaining what happened. Take it to your closest police station to lay a charge. Make sure you obtain a case number and the details of the detective who will be solving the case so that you can follow up. It is important to follow up continuously. Ensure action is taken. I know it seems useless since that agencies are rarely able to act on behalf of individuals, but remember that complaints are used to document patterns of abuse, allowing the police to take action against the company or the scammers. Scammers steal millions from victims every day in the world. Getting money back after you've been scammed is difficult, but knowing how to act in the afterwards is vital. For example, canceling your cards, alerting your bank, and reaching out to the relevant authorities and organizations who can assist you. One thing people usually don't do is reaching out for emotional support in the aftermath of the crime. This can also be a crucial step towards recovery. Many therapists and counselors are well equipped to assist victims of all types of crime. Scams can be deeply depressing, but there are professionals and organizations who can assist you moving on.
can't show you their names, but what I can show you is a phone call with the owners of one of these companies.
Rather than keeping my own team, I outsource the team. You
outsource
so
it.
there is different companies.
I won't bore you with the rest of the call, but her claim that she outsources is true to the extent that all the people she works with are scammers. A Google search reveals that her company was involved with another type of scam, the Roku support scam, proven by this review from 3 years ago. But remarkably, the group I'm investigating were stupid enough to not just use US companies, but the real Indian ones to process credit cards. There were 2 directors who ran the main business, Geek Care Online, and these were Jogpal and Praful. But it would be Praful who, according to his own LinkedIn page, was the boss and founder of this company, and could often be spotted at his desk on the scene.
In this section, the investigator is basically giving some background about the bosses and people who are running these scam groups. I suggest you also go to the original video to watch it uncut. While the original video is about 20 minutes long, if you noticed, it was a very long and intense investigation.
The bosses will take 99% of whatever the workers make, leaving them with pretty much nothing. And all of this gave me a pretty good look into this scammer's finances, but there was still a question lingering in the back of my mind. Where were the scammers actually located? This may seem easy to answer, but it turned out to be quite a bit more complicated than I initially expected. The first thing I did was look at the addresses the Indian-based companies were registered to, but immediately there were inconsistencies. The IP address of the scammers indicated Noida, while the business address indicated Faridabad. Noida and Faridabad are relatively close to each other and are both located in what is called the Delhi New Capital region, but are distinctly different cities. And even if we ignore this, a quick survey of Google Street View shows that none of the buildings in Surya-Nagar are any taller than 2 or 3 stories high. This is in stark contrast to the scammer's office, which appears to be reasonably elevated based on a window that is occasionally made visible. This was pretty much a dead end, so I decided to take a look at their computers, but this didn't prove very helpful either. None of the files on any of the PCs had any mention of what building they might be in, and even worse, none of the computers had wireless cards. Normally, getting the location would be as simple as getting the names and signal strengths of the surrounding Wi-Fi networks and using public databases to triangulate their position. But because there was no Wi-Fi capability, this was rendered impossible. And at this point, I was completely out of ideas and frankly ready to give up, when by complete accident, I got exactly what I needed. In addition to the inside cameras, the office also had an outside view of the hallway leading up to the door of their room. And it was when I was looking through old recordings of this camera angle that I stumbled across this footage of a cleaner opening the door to an adjacent office. Now, I had never seen this door open, and though it appeared that there was something written on it, the camera was too sharply angled to provide anything intelligible of value. However, once the door was opened, it provided me with this still frame of inverted text. By flipping this image horizontally, it shows us the name and logo of a business, Story Design. This is a fully legitimate product design agency, and because they only operate in the Indian daytime, likely had no idea they were next to an office full of scammers. But it was the address of this business that I really cared about. And this address pointed me to a shared office space called the KLJ Noida 1. This is a set of 3 buildings, Tower A, B, and C, and it would be in Tower C that the address would indicate the scammers would be situated. But I wanted to confirm this, and it again would be the outside window that would help me to do so. In front of the window was a tall building, and to the right of it, a much shorter and smaller one. We can see this exact same structure to the right, or in the case of the scammer's orientation, the front of Tower C, as indicated by satellite imagery. So we know exactly what building the scammers are in, but what about their room? Story Design's address also had the room number, 921, meaning that through an educated guess, the scammers would either be in room 920 or 922. But I wouldn't even have to guess, because the owners of the KLJ Noida 1 very kindly provided floor plans on their website. And with this floor plan, it became very obvious that the scammers were in room 922. As clearly shown on the floor plan, Story Design was in room 921, at the end of this corridor, while the scammers were relative to the camera on the left-hand side in room 922. And if all this evidence still wasn't enough, a friend of mine, Neep Scambaits, was actually in India at around the same time as my investigation, and he very bravely went to their physical location and took this first-person video.
It's the entrance of the tower. So
Honestly, This move was so risky. I hope this guy, Nip, was accompanied by personal security or preferably by police. It is risky, guys. As a piece of advice, do not go to a place of crime with intention to expose them by yourself. Criminals are, by default, guilty and do not like to be exposed. Therefore, they may act intuitively and that may result in hurting you. I really condemn this move.
The call center is over there, and then to the left, basically in this room, then there's like one more room. Then we have like elevators, which are going to different floors. And this is 922. Let's say like one laptop is there. Otherwise, it's quite empty. So, hello. So I guess it's this one, because like nobody's there. Like, then, yeah, probably it's this one. So here's like more, but like this is not the one, I guess. Like proper offices. Like I sent my friend if it's the right location, I just tell him, this looks like the one. Maybe it's the one. But I'll click a picture of that so that he knows like.
I think they work in night.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, they are not available right now.
Yeah.
So you can do one thing. You can contact someone. Do you have any contact number? Contact details?
From them, not no.
No.
No contact number. They work in dark mode, nah? Like they will not give any contact number.
Again, huge shout out to my friend Neep for physically going to their building and my friend Nanobator for helping out with the investigation. And at this point, I had gathered pretty much all the evidence I needed. I had their exact location, the names of the bosses and the employees, the money mules they would use to launder money, and their companies that were based in India.
Is there anyone from India who knows what are the procedures to take to bring such people before the law? Please tell us about it in the comment section. There is one thing scammers hate the most: publicity. When you have such information on scammers, publicity is a great way to expose. Do anything you can as long as the information reaches the public. You can even contact your local TV station, who usually have reporters who can shed a giant spotlight on fraud. Newspapers today, they all have powerful teams who are good in investigations.
Companies that were based in India. Instead of idly observing them, it was now time to engage in sabotage. The first thing I did was send a lengthy email to past victims letting them know that they had been scammed and what steps they needed to take to get their money back. And although I didn't get many responses because most people simply don't check their email, there was one response in particular that definitely stood out to me. The reply was from a lady in her 70s who explained that she was going through a difficult time due to her husband passing away, which made it easier for the scammers to take advantage of her. Thankfully, because of my email, she was able to contact her bank, make a dispute, and get her money back.
Is it possible to get your money back? Well, there are usually two ways people make payment online: via credit card or via check. If you have paid them via check, the likelihood of getting your money back is far lower. The check that they have cleared is in most circumstances irreversible. Regardless, you still have to contact your bank to see if or what can be done. If you have paid via credit card, this is where the good news is. Call your bank and request to file a chargeback, not a refund. A chargeback. There is a difference between a refund and a chargeback. Let me say this about refund. A company gives a customer money back directly after the return or exchange of a product or report of dissatisfaction with a service. But for chargebacks, things are different. A chargeback is the payment amount that is returned to a credit card after a customer disputes a transaction. You can dispute for many reasons, such as if you bought something online but never received it, or in this case, also if you have been scammed. You have to know this. Chargeback has a validity period, which is basically around 120 days following the transaction. Chargebacks are meant to protect customers from fraud, but also to encourage them to use credit cards instead of cash, since card purchases are effectively guaranteed by the banks. And when you file for chargeback, it is not the bank who pays, it is the scammer in this case. In conclusion, if you file a chargeback, the scammers will have to pay your money back, as it is a forceful transaction reverse which is initiated by the bank. It will also hurt the scammers, as they have to pay extra fees for the damage caused. And if many people request chargebacks, it will cause their payment processor to shut them down.
Dispute and get our money back. And though there was ultimately a happy ending, it still angered me to hear that they were taking advantage of somebody in such a vulnerable position. But it also made me realize that it wasn't enough to try to save people from scams that had already happened. I needed a way to effectively stop them from occurring in the first place. And in this case, I decided that the most effective thing to do was a call flooding attack. This involves sending dozens of automated phone calls every single second directly to the scammer's phone system, which will overload all their available phone lines and make it impossible for anyone else to reach them. As long as I'm flooding them, every time the scammers pick up the phone, instead of being greeted with a real person, they'll instead have their ears blasted with an extremely loud screaming noise that will not only annoy them, but hopefully make them reconsider their life choices.
1, 2, 3. It started.
Okay, just wait. I am providing the phone. Just wait.
I would continue to flood them for quite a while, but at some point the scammers realized that trying to fight the flooding was completely useless, so they just turned off their phone number and instead focused on people who they were already in a call with. But I wasn't going to let the scammers get off that easily, so I started to boot offline their internet connection, which not only disconnected their phone calls, but also the remote sessions they had established with their victims. But after the continuous call flooding and booting of their internet, I think the scammers finally realized that something wasn't right, because they started pointing at the CCTV with the realization that they were probably hacked. And the next day, unsurprisingly, they disconnected all of their cameras and never reconnected them. But the scammers forgot about one critical thing: their computers. And since I had pretty much done everything I could do, I decided it was finally time to confront these scammers by telling them their real names and all their information.
Calling support, how may I help you?
Yeah, who am I talking to?
Is this David from Geek?
It's David? Are you sure your name's David?
Yeah.
Your name is David. Because I'm 90% sure that your name is not David. In fact, I know it's not David.
May I know what is your concern, sir?
Yeah, your name's Sindhu, and I know everything that you've been up to.
May I know what is your concern?
Yeah, my concern is that you're in a scam call center, Sindhu. So let me ask you a few questions. Firstly, how did you join this scam call center? And how much do you get paid?
Thanks for holding the line.
Yeah, who am
hi.
I speaking to? Who's this?
This is Edward.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yes?
speak to Praful, please. I believe I was just speaking to Sindhu.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm somebody who's been investigating your scam call center, and I want to ask some questions. I'm gonna be real with you, okay? I know everybody in your office. I know Shashi, Sindhu, Sparsh, Devesh, everybody in your office, okay? I know Praful, Sarika. I know you're in the Noida 1 building. I know the room that you're in. So just give it to Praful, because you're not going to be able to answer any of the questions I'm going to ask.
No, you are not calling at the right place.
I'm not?
I think.
I'm not calling it the right place? So do you know what the KLJ Noida 1 building is? Do you know Unit 922? You ever heard of that?
No.
You've never heard of Unit 922 before?
No, sir.
Really?
Right now you are connected with the call. Yeah.
So you've never heard of Unit 922 and you've never heard of Story Design. You know, we sent somebody up to your building. You know that, right? Somebody took photos of your office. I think you know what Unit 922 is. And after this, they hung up the phone, but I was still able to capture this audio of their reactions to finding out that they've been hacked.
Can I speak to Dr. Sankar? Okay. सिंधु ने बताया कि मैं डेविड बोल रहा हूँ तो कहता तुम नहीं तुम सिंधु सर वही हाय है बाकी आपका नाम जानता है बोला सीधा 922 नंबर से आप लोग यूनिटी 1 से बात करो अपने फोन से बात कर लीजिए बोला आई डोंट नो हु यू आर I don't know whom you are talking about, but let's. If you need to talk to us, you can come and meet us directly. हाँ. Last time मैं ये बताने वाला था कि बाहर से किस.
I said it. This is a very risky move to make when trying to expose criminals.
ये बताने वाला था कि बाहर से किसी ने से मेरे को पता लगा था कि कोई यहाँ पे आके फोटो खींचे गया था. तो मुझे यही कश्मीर लग रहा है.
It seems like this group of scammers were pretty shaken by what I said. If you enjoy the investigations, consider liking and subscribing, and watching another video where I destroy more scammers. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.
Thank you for watching. I hope this was informative to you. Bye-bye.